Welcome into Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I am your part host today, Matthew Peterson, along with Patrick Seatman behind the ones and twos. And we're going to be talking about some cut candidates. Now, I think this is my second time on Vikings Now by Chat Sports. The first time I was wearing a clown mask because I called the Vikings frauds. And I won't rub salt in the wound, but we kind of know who the ultimate clown was here. But let's talk cut candidates here because the Vikings, they got to make some moves this offseason. Jason from Over the Cap tweeted out that the Vikings should be about $22 million over the salary cap after future signings. What does that mean? Well, they got to pay all their draft picks, for example. We have them ranked 31st in draft capital using my PFF Brad chart, whatever. But the takeaway from that is they got to make some moves because they're $22 million in the red right now. So we got 6 cut candidates, and we're going to start with a big name, and that is Dalvin Cook. The running back who it feels like every time he fumbles, there's always an injury, always a hamstring right behind the fumble. Dalvin Cook this year was a bit underwhelming. 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. It just didn't look like vintage Dalvin Cook for just too many games, to be honest with you guys. And when you look at the highest paid running backs in 2023, he's sitting at number 6 right now, which you can look at as half glass full, half glass empty. At least it's not Aaron Jones at number 1, who might not even be the best running back on his own team. Could be the same for Zeke, who's definitely not the best running back on his own team. But you're also number 6. You're being paid $14 million, and $14 million should get you more than 8 touchdowns. Now, I want to bring Patrick on because Patrick, like probably a lot of you guys watching right now, was begging for a Dalvin Cook jersey for Christmas. And now it doesn't feel like Dalvin Cook's going to be a part of this team long term. Patrick.
PD, this one hurts me because I like Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
He's a great locker room guy, and he's just a great guy to have in Minnesota and in the organization. But my eyes don't lie to me. This year, he struggled. I know he had almost 1,200 yards and still at 4.5 yards per carry. But I think Dalvin Cook may be cooked. I think he lost just a little bit of that step. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of paying running backs in general. Paying him as a top 6 back, I just think you may need to move on from him. I just think there's too much money that you can gain from cutting Dalvin Cook. I'm kind of out on it.
I get that. I feel that. But I do want to know what you guys have to say. Is Dalvin Cook done? Is Dalvin Cook cooked? Russell Wilson's cooked probably. Is Dalvin Cook overcooked? You know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments section below if you think he is. Next cut candidate is Adam Thielen. If Dalvin Cook is cooked, I think we're all going to agree Adam Thielen is probably definitely cooked. His best days are behind him. The cap savings for Adam Thielen look like this. The Vikings would save just under $6.5 million if they cut him before June 1st. If you're not familiar, June 1st is a very important date in the NFL calendar. It's when a lot of contracts become guaranteed, if you will. Now, if they were to cut him after June 1st, that's $13.5 million of savings. You'll see teams designate players as a post-June 1 cut. The only thing is they don't have that money to spend necessarily in free agency. So there's some pros and some cons in terms of when you want to move on from a player like Adam Thielen here. Adam Thielen, major step back, a lot of regression, 716 yards, 6 touchdowns. It's clear, of course, that Justin Jefferson is not only the wide receiver 1 on this team. That's not up for debate here. But is Adam Thielen the wide receiver 2 on this team? That I'm not so sure about in 2023. Now, we'll talk more about Adam Thielen and some possible replacements in just a moment. But we have a new sponsor I'm excited to share with you guys. Today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports is sponsored by my favorite cereal, Magic Spoon. Growing up, cereal was one of the best parts of being a kid. But I had to give it up because I realized it was full of sugar and junk and that you really shouldn't eat it. But Magic Spoon is cereal reinvented. I start every day with a bowl of Magic Spoon. It tastes amazing, and honestly, it's too good to be true. Magic Spoon tastes exactly like regular cereal from your childhood, but is super nutritious with 13 to 14 grams of protein and 0 grams of sugar. Magic Spoon comes in delicious flavors such as cocoa, fruity, and frosted, along with peanut butter, and it only has 140 calories per serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. I love Magic Spoon because it tastes great and it's good for you. I'm never going back to regular cereal. Start your new year off right with Magic Spoon. use the QR code on screen or go to magicspoon.com/chat and use my code chat for $5 off your own personalized Magic Spoon variety pack and stay on track for your New Year's resolution. That's magicspoon.com/chat and or scan the QR code and use code chat. Now, the link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Magic Spoon, by the way, is so confident in their product, it's guaranteed with 100% happiness. So if you don't like it for whatever reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Now, like I said, that link is in the comments and the description of today's show. Patrick, let's talk draft targets here, because I do think Adam Thielen is probably not coming back in 2023, and if he is, he's not going to be the number 2 receiver on this team. So, Jalin Hyatt from Tennessee, Quientin Johnston from TCU, Jordan Addison out of USC, Jaxon Smith-Njigba coming from Ohio State, and then Josh Downs out of UNC. All great receivers.
Yep.
I do think the Vikings are in an interesting spot where they've got some needs, but what's more fun than picking a receiver in the first round? I mean, it's like the best thing to do as a football fan.
And I know a lot of fans will probably go defense in the draft.
Yeah.
Go defense in the draft. This defense sucks. But you got to look at it. Justin Jefferson, he's there hopefully for his whole career. I know we're trying to get him locked up right now. KJ Osborne, same draft as Jefferson. But if you could add another third young wide receiver, like maybe your guy, Jalin Hyatt, that speed option from Tennessee, or even a guy like Josh Downs, a kind of slot possession receiver.
Yeah.
I would be very intrigued when bringing in one of these 5 guys. Next to Jefferson and KJ and TJ Hawkinson at tight end, you're a pretty young, lethal group.
I mean, Jefferson, you can line him up anywhere you want.
Exactly.
Outside, you can put him in the slot. So it's not like they need a slot guy or they need a boundary receiver. But Quientin Johnston's got some strong hands, and Jalin Hyatt's got some vertical speed. So I think the Vikings had the luxury of looking at those draft targets and going, let's just take who we think number 1 is. Because whichever it is, we'll just move Jefferson to that other spot, right? He can do that, no problem. Some more cut candidates now. What about Za'Darius Smith? It's been a short stint so far in Minnesota, coming over from Green Bay. The finances behind moving on from Za'Darius Smith look like this. The Vikings would save a pretty nice $12.3 million if they cut him before June 1st. If they wait till the spring and after June 1st, that's 15.3. So not a huge jump right there, which could make for a really quick and easy snip in the month of March. Za'Darius Smith in 2022, let's look at PFF grade. They have an 82.2 overall. That's a really good, healthy grade coming from Za'Darius Smith. 78 pressures, 10 sacks, 28 tackles. The stats are all there. It's just, is this a cap casualty? Patrick.
So I think it is. And plus, a lot of those numbers, it did come in the first half of the season. I know he was dealing with some injuries in the second half. But Za'Darius Smith, he's getting up there in age too. I just think you have a chance to cut bait with a lot of these guys and open up a ton of more cap space. I think Za'Darius Smith, to me, makes the most sense out of this whole list, saving almost $12 million and potentially 15.
Right.
If you do it after June, PD, I would be all in on cutting him.
Yeah, and this could just be one of those situations where it's not cutting so much because of productivity. It's more so we have to make cuts. You're getting up in the age column, and you can also give us a lot of return on a potential cut. Now, of the first 3 guys we've looked at so far, who would you cut? Dalvin Cook, Za'Darius Smith, or Adam Thielen? There's pros and cons, right? You also have to factor in, what are you saving if you cut the guy, right? If the savings are minimal, does it make a ton of sense? But Za'Darius Smith, good production like Patrick noted in the first half of the season, but upwards of $10 million savings, that's kind of tough to pass on. Let's move on to someone I would not want to see the Vikings cut if I'm a Vikings fan, and that is Harrison Smith, the all-pro, Pro Bowl safety for Minnesota, but there have to be cuts that are made, and the Harrison Smith would get you a decent penny saved. If you cut him before June 1st, 7.4. That's not really worth it in my opinion, but 15.2 after June 1st, that's something Kwesi might look at for a good long time at his screen when he's looking at Spotrac or over the cap, and he goes, dang, 15.2 might be enough to push me over the edge for someone that I inherited. You got to remember, new GMs, they love to throw that line out there. That's not my guy. Well, he's a really good guy, so you should probably like him anyway. But career stats for Harrison Smith, 34 interceptions, 4 touchdowns. He's one of the best safeties in football. I don't think the Vikings should make this cut, right? We kind of danced up the theatrics and the finances behind it, but Patrick, you don't cut Harrison Smith.
I don't think you do either.
You don't.
He is 34 years old, so I guess that argument you could cut bait right now because he still has 2 years left on his deal. But man, this is a Vikings legend, PD.
Yeah.
This is one of the best Vikings players of all time, and I think this will hurt fans the most, especially if you have a new GM coming in. If you do cut Thieln, Cook, some fan favorites, and then you cut Harrison Smith, I know GM shouldn't consider the fans' thoughts, but maybe they should on this one because he is a Vikings legend.
I kind of think about the locker room impact too, which I think is a
point.
real element of, hey, I go back to, for example, I'm just picking out a team in my head here, say the Bears. When they moved on from Lovie Smith, right, new GM, new head coach, all that stuff came in, and the Brian Urlacher, the Lance Briggs, those kind of guys, the Monsters of Midway, they were pushed out. And that had repercussions in the locker room. Harrison Smith at 34 might make sense on paper for $15 million, but who's going to be that leader on the defense?
Exactly.
You need that. But let's show the guy some love. Spam his jersey number 22 in the comment section below. Cut candidate number 5 is Eric Kendricks, the linebacker, who is a little bit younger than Harrison Smith. So from the age standpoint, it doesn't line up exactly, but from the financial standpoint, it's even either way. You want to release him before or after June 1st, it's going to be a $9.5 million worth of savings. And like we said at the top of the show, I think cuts are going to have to be made. They can restructure some contracts. They can move money from base salary to signing bonuses and add void years and whatnot. But Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he's a new GM. We're going to learn what kind of tendencies he has. He comes from the Cleveland Browns, the Andrew Berry tree. And Andrew Berry loves to restructure contract and add void years and make it like a future you problem. So maybe that's what Kwesi does here. Now, the PFF grades here for Kendricks. Overall, 61.1. Run defense was 81.1. Pass rush was 61. And then what's always been kind of the knock on Kendricks, the coverage grade, he has been a liability over the middle of the field, 46.4. Patrick, the floor is yours. I will say,
Eric Kendricks this year, I have his jersey. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
He definitely lost a step. He is slower than he was in years past. I think he's had his worst year of his career so far with the Vikings. And I'm very curious on this. I want to know what the fans say, because I don't know if this is just me and my eyes. My eyes are telling me he is a slow linebacker in the NFL. He can't cover running backs. He can't cover tight ends. I would probably grade him as honestly a C- from this past year. I thought he really struggled, especially for his cap hit. But I would be curious what the fans have to say about this one.
It's going to get a wide I think this will be one of those questions where you get A's and F's.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not very often do you find a question that warrants and elicits A's and F's. 6th and final cut candidate, speaking on the defense, it is Jordan Hicks. So, another opportunity for Minnesota to reset the clock a little bit and go on the younger side. The Vikings would save $5 million with a pre-June 1 cut, and same for a post-June 1 cut. These are some basic level contracts here where the timing element of it, when the money is guaranteed, is not really a part of the language here. Patrick, are we moving or are we keeping?
We're moving on from Jordan Hicks.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
He's not a good player.
I tried to be his lawyer for a second. It didn't work well.
I know. But if you look at the name right there, Brian Asamoah, he was fantastic this year. He showed that burst. He showed that speed, that third rounder we had out of Oklahoma. I am all in on him. I think he's going to be of a great, great NFL career. And I think it's time the Vikings just move off Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks. You get these young, fast linebackers in the room.
Exactly. And one of the greatest compliments you can give a team is, hey, I really wanted that guy for our team. So the fact that you guys drafted him, that's a good compliment right there. And Asamoah from Oklahoma is one of those guys, in my opinion. Now, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do so. We're going to keep you guys informed all off season long. There's no other channel out there, in my opinion, that's going to give you guys just as much, if not more content, believe it or not, during the off season. So if you're looking for a Vikings YouTube channel that's going to have free agency, draft, trade, buzz, all that good stuff, keep it right here and subscribe today.